Let me introduce myself. I'm Maryna Dvornyk from Kiev, Ukraine. I'm the acting head of the Laboratory of Social Psychology, Social Psychology of Personality in the Institute of Social and Political Psychology of National Academy of Educational Sciences of Ukraine, the long name. And I want here to represent to you a little bit of our fresh out the oven vision of psychosocial support of those who were suffering in this Ukrainian-Russian conflict. You know the word. Our Odysseus colleagues were talking about this more widely. So I want to represent here the vision for future research, because we've already finished our 3-year research, and it was dedicated to the agenda of rehabilitation of those people who were suffering in this, veterans, combatants, their families, internally displaced people, and of course the whole civilians who are very concerned about what's happening in Ukraine. So here are some points we are having to make the relevance of these ideas. So what we're dealing with is the negative impact of traumatic war experience in the whole, for whole population, and particularly the development of post-traumatic stress disorder from militaries and civilians as this kind of not only psychosocial problem, but also the psychiatric one. So we are dealing actually with some very difficult problems of psychological state of a person. And of course, we have some optimistic view on it, because a lot of researchers also are concentrated on this item of post-traumatic growth, actually. So we don't have only the negative outcomes of all these tragedy we have, but also we have the vision of post-traumatic growth, and our next 3-year research will be aimed on the revealing the principles and strategies for such psychosocial support, which will increase the chances of post-traumatic growth of the traumatized ones. And here are some main concepts of this our approach. And first of all, we are concentrating on the concept of psychosocial support, psychological assistance, psychological counseling, which is like the whole idea of the psychological help. The concepts of transition, liminality, readaptation, transformation, which is the whole situation, to the uncertainty of this situation of when you don't know what to expect. And the concepts of differentness versus sameness, post-traumatic life construction. Actually, our leader, the leader of our research team, Professor Dvornyk, she is well known in Ukraine for her brilliant ideas on life construction, personal life construction.
Are you proud of it?
And she's telling us, actually, we need to focus on that in this case, to reduce the problem's relevance. So it will help to unblock the ideas of self-realization. So when we will do that, the problem, the situation, the whole feeling that something is unsolvable will go away. So it will give you the chance to feel more confident in deciding, in making yourself more resilient, more able to be to make this actually growth. So The concept of psychosocial support here, we are understanding it as the system of actions to promote the restoration of psychological health and to increase the level of psychological well-being of a person with certain problems. And we're not here telling about the diseases, yes, but we are focusing on the, again, on the optimistic way of growing this potential of personality's resources. And here are some items on how this what ideas it should contain. So it must be procedurality. So it means that there must be a lot of different steps, stages, and they must be very holistic. And the main idea should be should be taken. The prolongation, so the support is not about the one only event of help. Yes, it's the long way of a person to get its resources, to be like more, to have the revival actually. Non-directness, it means that there is no only one person or institution that is given this support. This support must be from everywhere, and it goes to that immersion in a real everyday life of person, and of course mediation of a community. So you are into the social relations every time. That's why you are having actually that support not only from the experts, not only from psychology, social workers, you're getting it from each other, so it must be very helpful. So there are some items on how to make this inclusion of a person in a community life. So we need to, first of all, focus on the readiness to receive this support from certain communities. Of course, if a person is not ready to get the support, you will not bring it to him or her. So we must to understand if it's possible. The individual motivation to contribute into community life. Well, it also concerns that idea of, again, readiness to be the part of the community life. So it must be like very concentrated on it. And the responsibility for the activities in communities, when you are, it's more the problem of the community itself, not the person. So we as specialists, multidisciplinary specialists, must focus on the making of this whole community for this person, a better community. So there are some stages of this psychosocial support. Diagnostic target one. It's about understanding the life situation of a person, and we need to understand the most acute aspects of this difficult life situation and actual queries of a person, what she or he needs in his everyday life. Then operative instrumental stage. There you select the forms and methods, means to organize the interaction between the recipient, who is actually the person in need of this support, and the assistant agents. So those must be not only psychologists, as I said. The motivational communicator stage, the involvement of different communities, virtual and real one, networks, peer-to-peer self-help groups, in which a person is included, and this must be, again, long-term mediated influence. And evaluating forecasting stage, which must evaluate the effectiveness, to monitor it, and to make the joint modeling of the future outcomes. So to understand the future of this process. So the general principles in psychosocial support, while we have this situation of transition, we believe that this transition from war to peace will come soon. So there must be, like in every support in every community, the priority of the interests of the supported ones. So we don't need to make it direct. We don't need to just do the help when the person say, I don't want it. So we need to focus on these priorities of the interests of the supported one. The continuity and multidisciplinarity, again, we all understand that. The constant exchange of information. In case of our propaganda thing, it is very useful because everybody must stay in touch and understand that they are talking clearly to each other. And of course, understanding of responsibility of each party of this process, the recipients and the actors of help and support. So we suppose that the main targets of our support must be the following: anti-fragility and resilience development. Actually, our senior researcher, Maryna, she is working on this item and problem, and she's saying that each stressful or catastrophic situation causes the activation of adaptation, protection, and stabilization resources, actually. So if you are having this situation or trauma, actually you can reveal these resources and then use them, but of course with the help and the support and the assistance. The next is stimulation of tolerance to uncertainty, readiness for unexpected change. Precisely this idea is supported by our Ph.D. student Anna, she's here. And actually there are a lot of studies which indicate that intolerance of uncertainty is a strong predictor of trait worry, unconstructive decision-making, psychological distress. So the more you are tolerant to the uncertainty, the more you are resilient, the more you can resist the stress. So we actually need to increase the uncertainty tolerance among the psychotraumatized ones to decrease their anxiety, and to stimulate their post-traumatic growth again. The formation of constructive social representations in community that have to provide support. Actually, this problem is overviewed by our professor Vitaly Klimchuk, and he is saying that first of all we need to outline the necessity to activate different community activities, enhance community readiness to provide support to their members, and to deepen community ties with other communities. So it's about the system again. And the fourth target is differentness overcoming in favor of the sameness. Sameness mitigates the feeling of isolation or shame, since the shared experience creates a common language. Well, a lot of studies shows that veterans actually having more the feeling of their normality when they get back to the normal non-military life, when they have more feeling of this similarity with the whole civilian world there. So the best relations are formed on the basis of a sense of community, which reduces the anxiety and promotes a sense of normality and belonging. So enough of talking, and now we will try to do some of these communicational practices, and I want to invite you in the center here. please, all. Yeah, this focus. What I'm supposed to do is to make eye contact. No talking, please. No talking, please. Make an eye contact and say hello only with your eyes. Look into
They're doing some
eyes
jokes.
of each other deeply. Recognize each other with the eyes. Oh, you're talking. Now try to make some groups. First group, find those ones who are having the same color of eyes and make the groups. Different eyes colors and groups. Green ones, brown ones, blue ones, different colors, different groups. How many groups do you have? You cannot understand which color you have. The browns, the blue, and the green. Cool, the 3 groups. Okay, now divide into groups by 3 persons, but very quickly. 3 persons, just 3 persons, different groups, 3 persons. Okay, 3 persons, 3 persons, 3 persons. Okay, now, and make groups of 5 persons. Okay, 5 people. Say hello to each other, recognize each other. Okay, make groups of those who wear pants and those who wear skirts. So how many groups do you have? Skirts? And those pets, you're not pets? Okay, make groups with those who already swam in the Issyk Lake and who didn't. And then let's do the groups for those who already have Ph.D. and who doesn't. Make the groups of those who believe that worldwide peace is possible and those who don't. Please make the groups of those who believe in God and who don't. Kind of confusing, but maybe the third one will be. And okay, make the groups of those who like this summer school and who don't.
Okay, we all love the summer school.
Please make 2 big circles. One will be inside, like you will stand like, let me show, like this. And the other one will be like this, outside. Let's try to do it. Like, I mean, just stand inside, like this. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now the external circle will move to the left. Yes. And the internal will stay. And the internal circle will tell a good, nice, supportive thing to a person in front of them. Everybody understood that? Just, yeah, you are moving. The external circle is moving to the left. And those who are inside are telling the thing that must be supportive to a person in front of them. First telling the internal circle is telling. And the external one is receiving. Okay. Yeah? Yes. Until you get the same person in front of you. Try to make a couple whose compliment, whose nice thing was like the most inspiring for you. You can actually go and take a seat. You can go and take a seat. Well, it will be working in couples. Take a seat somewhere. Last few months, and your partner, yeah, and then reflect on the worst thing that this situation affect on you. The worst thing that could possibly happen in this situation, the worst outcome. So actually you are making yourself quite vulnerable here, but try to to tell these each other, please. Yeah, and then the first partner, first listening, yes, receiving this information, and while that who is speaking, the partner who is listening will propose him to do these steps. Yeah, after he tells the story. He or she. First, you ask your partner to do this, to name 5 things you see around, so you all see that, yes? Then, make this breath. When you are inhaling for 4 seconds, like in your belly, yeah? Then, hold for 7 seconds, and exhale for 8 seconds. So you're getting calm. And then observe the sensation, the thoughts and feelings you're having after this breathing. So what is this? Were I in danger? Did I felt very anxious, depressed or something? Yes? So reflect on your feelings and thoughts and sensation. Maybe it was a really heartbeat or something, yes? And then, to make this practice of asking questions. So it was really true situation. I mean, was it a real danger, or it was just your imagination of it, only feelings? And then, if you understand that it's more grounded on your feelings, try to say, what would you tell someone else in this situation if somebody else was in that case? Well, of course, it's better to say something to another person than to yourself, yes? So you are getting grounded again, like this. So, and state yourself that physical sensations are a normal body response and they will pass. You just have to recognize them, get grounded, and they will pass. So let's try to make this. It's kind of, I know it's kind of vulnerable thing, but if you're having this connection, you can try it. Okay? At least if you're not very engaged in sensible, you can just discuss this practice. Okay? Okay, you are having 5 minutes for that, unfortunately. So it was all about that communication can do a lot of useful things in recovery, personal recovery, even if you have, traumatic experience. Of course, we cannot reproduce it at all here because we're maybe didn't have that much traumas, but yeah, actually it should work. And thanks for your attention. Take care of your inner peace because everything started with